The United States Navy denies Chinese claims that it warned and expelled the guided missile destroyer USS Higgins during its mission off Scarborough Shoal. U.S. 7th Fleet spokesperson Commander Megan Green tells the Inquirer that nothing untoward happened during its mission on Wednesday, August 13, 2 days after the collision between Chinese ships in the area. The People's Liberation Army Southern Theater Command earlier said the Chinese military mobilized forces to monitor, issue warnings, and expel the Higgins. According to Green, China's statement about the mission is false. Green says the Higgins conducted its freedom of navigation operations in accordance with international law and then continued on to conduct normal operations. She adds that the Higgins exited the excessive claim area after the operation and continued in the South China Sea. Aside from the Higgins, the Philippine Coast Guard said the littoral combat ship USS Cincinnati was also monitored conducting a freedom of navigation operation about 30 nautical miles from Scarborough Shoal. China rejects the right to freedom of navigation in Scarborough Shoal, deeming it part of its territorial waters. Instead, China enforces what experts have termed an exclusion zone around the shoal. The 2016 Arbitral Award declared the area a traditional fishing ground for the Philippines, China, and Vietnam. Green says the mission affirms Washington's continued rejection of unlawful restrictions imposed by Beijing. She says the U.S. is defending its right to fly, sail, and operate wherever international law allows, adding that nothing China says will deter them. President Bongbong Marcos signs the law postponing this year's barangay and sangguniang kabataang elections for the government to focus on the first-ever parliamentary elections of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Republic Act No. 12232 reschedules the supposed December 1, 2025 BSKE on the first Monday of November 2026. This will fall on November 2, 2026 on All Souls Day. The regular BSKE shall be held every 4 years thereafter. The measure also extends the terms of barangay and SK officials to 4 years, from the current 3 years under the Local Government Code of 1991. Barangay officials can still serve for 3 consecutive terms or up to 12 years in the same position, while SK officials' terms are reduced to a maximum of 1. Incumbent elective barangay officials serving their 3rd consecutive term in the same position shall not be eligible to run for the same position in the November 2026 BSKE. Marcos earlier deemed the rescheduling of the BSKE as the most sensible and the most common-sense solution for the government to properly conduct the BARM parliamentary elections on October 13. Voters in BARM will vote for new members of their parliament to replace its interim governing body, the Bangsamoro Transition Authority, which is composed of presidential appointees. According to Marcos, the BARM parliament polls are so important, saying their failure would compromise the ongoing peace process. Veteran election lawyer Romulo Macalental earlier urged the president to veto the bill deferring the BSKE. He argued it was a recycled version of a law previously nullified by the Supreme Court. According to Macalental, the enrolled bill suffers from the same constitutional and legal flaws as Republic Act No. 11935 signed by Marcos in 2022. The law attempted to delay the December 2022 BSKE but was later declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court in its landmark 2023 decision. The High Court ruled that any delay in the elections must be supported by sufficiently important, substantial, or compelling reasons to protect the right of suffrage. The Supreme Court noted that superficial justifications such as election fatigue or cost saving are not valid grounds for postponement. PhilHealth will receive 53.3 billion pesos for its National Health Insurance Program under the 2026 National Expenditure Program. The state-run insurer had zero subsidy from the government last year. On the other hand, Congress's Pet Cash Aid Ayuda para sa Kapos ang Kita program or Akap will get zero funding next year. Budget Secretary Amanda Pangandaman says the restoration of the government subsidies for PhilHealth will cover insurance premiums of indirect contributors as well as funding for medical assistance to indigent and financially incapacitated patients. As for Akap, she explains there will still be leftover funds for the program from 2025 when it received a 26 billion peso budget. She says they decided not to include Akap this year given the limited fiscal space. House Committee on Appropriations Chair Micaela Swansing says that while the House still saw the value of the program, she will have to defer to her House colleagues on whether they would move to reinstate its budget for 2026. Akap is a social welfare program that provides one-time cash assistance to minimum wage earners and near-poor Filipinos. It was also not part of the 2025 National Expenditure Program but was suddenly inserted in the Bicameral Conference Committee version with a 26 billion peso budget. While many believe this came at the expense of PhilHealth's budget, the Marcos administration defended the move by stating that the state-run insurer has ample reserve funds to cover its operations and health insurance coverage. The proposed national budget for 2026 is at 6.793 trillion pesos.